Canon is still saying that they plan to ship the R5 Mark II in the order that orders were received. But if you place a new order, it could take more than 6 months for delivery. More than 6 months delivery for the R5 Mark II. Are they nuts? I mean, that's insane. It's unbelievable. And that quote, that was published 3 weeks ago on their apologies for not shipping products page. I've just got word that they've updated that page. Have they moved up the delivery date? Well, we've got the details coming up after this short message. But before we get to the details, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, helps this channel grow, and keeps you up to date on the latest camera coverage. And since I first covered this story back on Monday, I've received an awful lot of feedback, and in a way that's a bit of an understatement. People told us that in the UK, many retailers are still on back order, that Canada and the US have been receiving a good solid supply, and that apologies for not shipping products page, well, it was just updated. The estimated shipping delivery for new orders of the R5 Mark II, it's still more than 6 months. And I've got lots of evidence that that statement might just apply locally. The Canon EOS R5 Mark II arrived today, September the 12th. The grip arrived earlier, though I'm still waiting for the 3 additional LP E6P batteries. I used your link for B&H cameras on August the 28th. Not bad for 15 days. I'm glad it's finally here. So all that talk about the shortage, is it really just marketing hype? And that isn't an isolated comment. I've received lots of comments and feedback from people who ordered their R5 Mark II in Canada and the United States, and most of them said they got it within the first week, or they've had to wait about 2 to 3 weeks at the very most. But in Europe, well, the feedback was a little bit not as good. I put in my pre-order 15 minutes into the announcement and haven't heard anything yet. It looks like most of Europe doesn't have enough stock of the camera body, and they're also low on those batteries. And I received a lot of comments across the channel and social media backing up this claim, and it looks like Canon Rumors is now validating this, that the UK seems to receive a very small initial allocation compared to the rest of the planet. And while folks in the UK aren't as fortunate as those living in Canada and the United States, you're not going to have to wait more than 6 months for delivery. Shipments continue. We've been told that in the UK, a small shipment of Canon EOS R5 bodies have hit warehouses, but not enough to cover all those long pre-order lists. But in the rest of Europe, continental Europe, the part that the UK is no longer part of, things aren't looking as good. Small numbers of camera bodies have started to hit European retailers. So what's going on here? Is Canon lying to us? I mean, to tell us to expect more than 6 months for something, that's pretty extreme. And there's no evidence in Canada or the United States. There was a rather healthy allocation, and we continue to get more shipments. And in the UK and Europe, while the allocations weren't as hefty, we're still continuing to get shipments, although, again, those shipments aren't as hefty. It doesn't appear to be any sign outside of Japan that we're going to have to wait more than 6 months. So the question I'm asking, if it isn't obvious already, could this warning be, well, aimed at the local Japanese market only and not the rest of the world? The R5 Mark II shortage in Japan is severe. One of the famous distributors in Japan, Map Camera, failed to take orders because their website went down for almost 2 hours, and many have been waiting for theirs to arrive. I was one of them. I have no idea when it will ship. And another viewer said, I really find it hard to believe Canon's statement that we have to wait half a year. Could they really be so incompetent? Maybe it's limited to Japan since the yen is weak and they're prioritizing the US market. I'm currently waiting for my back order to be fulfilled. At this point, there's no evidence to indicate that there's going to be an extensive long wait for the R5 Mark II, well, with the exception of Japan, and the initial apologies for not shipping products page is listed in Japanese. And while that page usually translates to a worldwide warning, we're seeing zero evidence. In fact, we're seeing continuous shipments to the Americas, to Europe, and the United Kingdom, which it used to be part of Europe. And I'm British, so don't jump on me about this. I find that whole Brexit thing to be a little bit confusing and frustrating. But there's another angle to take here. The Canon EOS R5 Mark I. It's currently on sale for $28.99. That's $1,400 less than the R5 Mark II. Just think about that for a moment. $28.99 versus $42.99. That's a huge price difference. I'm excited by the R5 Mark II. I've got it in my hands, but the fact that I have it in my hands should be telling you something. This video is being recorded with the R5 Mark I. Almost every single video on this channel has been recorded on the R5 Mark I. And since the very first day that I had this camera, which is almost 4 weeks ago now, I've shot every video on the R5 Mark I. So why is that? Well, for me, for my business capabilities, for my needs, I really needed a second camera. All these videos are shot in Studio A. I have a tripod set up, everything is all perfectly set, the camera's set, the lens, I've got the Ninja 5 on top, and whenever I take the R5 off to do some other shooting, I have to take the time to put it back, to put the quick release plate back on. I have to make sure I put it right in the right mode. I have to make sure the lens is back on autofocus. And of course, I have to reframe things because no matter what I do, no matter how careful when I take it off, I have to reframe things, and that can take some time. Another frustrating thing is, until I got the R5 Mark II, whenever I wanted to do any sort of run and gun work, I would think, okay, should I go ahead and get the R5 Mark I, get it set up, put, let's say, I don't know, the 100 to 500 or the 200 to 800 on it, get it set up, get the other tripod ready, get ready to shoot. And sometimes I did do that. And then all of a sudden there'd be some news and I had to cover it. Guess what I had to do? I had to take everything off, put the camera back up, reframe it, and start to shoot. And what I used to do before I started this channel, I would have my camera already ready with a 24 to 105 so I could shoot the moment if anything happened, and it didn't take me long to put another lens on. So what this camera gives me is the ability to have a run and gun camera that's ready to go when I need it. And yes, Canon Log 2, a full-size HDMI port, to be the ability to shoot 10-bit without having to shoot log and then have to grade log. 30 frames per second. It's incredible, and a much updated autofocus system. It's pretty impressive. But again, I want to go back to my original point, $1,400 difference between these two cameras. And not only that, it looks like in Japan you're looking at least a 6-month wait according to Canon, but the rest of the world, you're still looking at many, many weeks of wait. And what do you get with that? Well, you get to pay an extra $1,400 more. So what I'm trying to do here is trying to pull away a little bit of that FOMO. Now, I'm not saying this isn't a great camera, but if you're shooting family portraits, if you're shooting portraits of any kind, if you're doing photojournalism, do you need the R5 Mark II? And I ask this question because when I go to a lot of events locally, quite often what I see is older cameras like the 5D Mark IV. And they don't even have the advanced autofocus system that the R5 has, or the larger resolution of 45 megapixels. So while I do have both cameras, and you might be saying, well then Simon, why didn't you save $1,400 and just buy an R5 Mark I instead of the R5 Mark II? Well, this channel is all about news and rumors about the latest and greatest, and if I don't at least buy one of the most popular cameras on the marketplace, then who can you turn to for advice? I'm not just here to talk about what's coming, the news and rumors, but I've been shooting with the R5 Mark I since a week before it started shipping, over 1,500 videos. And now I'm able to shoot with the R5 Mark II, so I can answer your questions as somebody who shoots as a professional, who makes a good part of their living off cameras. I can tell you what it's like to shoot with both cameras, and all I'm saying is just look at the capabilities, the value that you need to get out of the camera, and ask yourself, do you need to wait? Could the Mark I at $1,400 less, $28.99 at Atom and B&H be more than enough for you? And if you are considering that, please consider using my affiliate links and pre-order links down below, because this is kind of like a public broadcasting station. I'm on the air because of you guys using pre-order links and affiliate links. And the best part of it is, you don't have to cut me a check. You don't have to pay any extra. Just using these links, I can get anywhere from 2 to 8% back. But now I want to talk to you about a trade show that's coming up. And I thought, oh, it's in November. It's several months away and realizing that November is only about a month and a half away. It's in Toronto, and it's called the Profusion Trade Show, or Photo and Video Show. It's held on November the 6th to November the 7th. It's free to pre-register, and if you're living in Canada, I gotta ask you, what is free these days? I've never been to this trade show. I've never even heard of it, which is rather surprising since it's just a 52-minute train ride away. But I looked into it and I thought, wow, last year they had SmallRig, Tamron, Canon, Red, Nikon. Who else did they have there? There are a lot of big names. I can't remember them all right now, but I was pretty impressed and I thought, okay, so we've got cinema, we've got photo and video present, and it's free to enter. And it's easy to get to too. If you're not from Toronto, you can take the trains in. It's right down next to Union Station. I think it's at the Metro Toronto Convention Center. So it's pretty easy for us commuters to get down there. So I'm going to show up there. If you're in the GTA, or if you're in Buffalo, or if you're anywhere in the northern United States, Pennsylvania, New York, or Ohio, take a look at some of the videos online about this trade show, because it looks like it's definitely worth attending. It's smaller than you would expect to see at CES. You don't have to cross multiple buildings, but you have everything in one area and a lot of big name companies. So I'm really excited to attend. Again, it's November the 6th to the 7th. I plan on attending. I booked November the 6th off. So I'm curious. I'm curious to what we will see there. I'm looking at networking. I'm not planning on shooting any interviews or shooting any videos there. I'll bring my camera, of course. Maybe at least get some B-roll, because you notice the lack of B-roll here. It's quite simply because there was nothing I could get that was license free, and I couldn't get permissions in time. So back to the whole story about the R5 Mark II taking more than 6 months. There's a complete absence of evidence of that outside of Japan, and what we're seeing is shipments are continuing. Numbers aren't as large as what they were on day one or day zero. But definitely Canada and the United States are getting more than their fair share, but we're starting to see more shipments to Europe and the United Kingdom. And there's some countries where I heard they only got like 4 or 5 cameras, if you can believe that. I think Denmark and Slovenia and some other countries. So yeah, you'll get your cameras. They will be coming soon. But again, think of the R5 Mark I. If you don't need some of the advanced capabilities of this camera, the R5 Mark II, and I do think it's a terrific camera, $28.99. And if you're in Australia, New Zealand, Europe, you're going to be paying quite a bit less than if you get the R5 Mark II. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, a great week, and we'll see you again soon.